The left and the mainstream media love to jump to conclusions right after a shooting of some sort. How did he get the gun? Why was he allowed to have a gun? We should pass common sense gun control measures now. It's all about the gun and not the criminal. But you know what happens when people are killed with a different sort of weapons? Let's say like a knife? Crickets. Let's get to it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you did not already know, my name's Jay Costa, and I am just a red-blooded American patriot living behind enemy lines, some would say, here in the great state of New Jersey. And if you get value after watching this video, please hit that like button down below and also consider subscribing because we are building a tight-knit community here. I feel it and I see it in that comment section down below of like-minded individuals who are looking to fight for, protect, and defend our Second Amendment rights here in the great state of New Jersey as well as other blue states like it. So if that interests you, definitely hit the subscribe button and a notification bell so you can stay up to date on my weekly videos. I may actually be bumping it up to 2 videos per week now. So once again, definitely very, very important for you to subscribe and to hit the notification bell. And I'm going to keep coming at you with content all the time. But in this video, I wanted to go over this gruesome attack in Manhattan just in the last few days. We're going to go over the details of what happened, the past record of the criminal, which will shock you, or maybe not, as well as how this totally exposes not only the hypocrisy of our elected officials, but also the negligence and incompetence that has led our nation's greatest city into total crime-ridden dismay, as well as a culture of dependency. I'm going to get to that towards the end of the video. But first, let's go over what actually happened. So on November 18th, only a couple days ago, a 51-year-old man named Ramon Rivera went on a stabbing spree in broad daylight in Manhattan. He first stabbed a 36-year-old construction worker right in the stomach. Then he went over to the East River to stab a man who was randomly fishing there. And lastly, he went north near the United Nations building and stabbed an innocent 38-year-old woman. Ramon Rivera then gave himself in and confessed to committing these murders. He stated that he picked these victims randomly simply because they were, quote, alone and distracted. By the way, if that's not a great example to teach you to never be distracted, get off your phone, and always have situational awareness, I don't know what is. But anyway, it should come of no surprise that Mr. Rivera has an extensive criminal history in the city of New York alone, as well as 2 other states, including, you guessed it, here in New Jersey. In New Jersey, he was arrested both in Hoboken for charges of burglary, theft by unlawful taking, whatever that is, a criminal mischief, which is property damage, as well as in Union City for allegedly breaking into a cell phone store where he stole cell phones and other electronics valued at anywhere over $500. I guess that's the threshold. This is in addition to at least 8 past arrests in New York City, a history of mental health issues, and years of police run-ins crisscrossing several states. Now, Rivera's latest stint behind bars began February 19th of this year, when NYPD officers arrested him in connection to a pattern of burglaries in Manhattan. These burglaries went back to December 2023, and he stayed at Rikers Island while prosecutors supposedly cobbled together all these charges into one case. While spending time at Rikers, he was transferred to Bellevue Psych Ward in May for mental health, where authorities said he assaulted a corrections officer there. By August, he copped a guilty plea for a 364-day sentence, along with a 90-day sentence for assaulting the corrections officer, which was to be served at the same time as the first sentence. Rivera was then released early on October 17th after serving just 3/4 of his sentence term in prison. And on the same day of his release, Rivera was charged with petty larceny after prosecutors said he stole a nearly $1,500 acrylic bowl from a high-end shop in Tribeca. On the same day that he was released, he committed a crime. Court records show he pleaded not guilty to this and was released on bail with non-monetary conditions. And within a month of that, he murdered 3 innocent New Yorkers. Now, I want to take this story on from 3 different perspectives. First, why is the outrage minimal compared to similar killings with a firearm? 2, why was this homeless man with an extensive criminal history as well as mental health history allowed back on the streets so many times? And 3, what would have happened if more law-abiding citizens in the city of New York were able to actually protect the lives of themselves, their family, and potentially even others? So first, the outrage in comparison to firearms. Well, this is in the local news for sure, but many politicians in New York have been silent on the issue. This includes Governor Hochul, whose X profile right now does not have one mention of these attacks or the 3 innocent people murdered in broad daylight. This horrifying crime is the perfect example of what us in the Second Amendment community stay very consistent on. These are gruesome killings that are not to be blamed on the tool, but rather the intent and the motive of the criminal. Because there's evil out there, as we all know. and someone who's hell-bent on killing will not follow your unconstitutional draconian laws that only punish law-abiding citizens. These evil criminals will do so, whether it's a knife, whether it's a car, no matter what your law says. Clearly, this man was a criminal and mentally unwell, which is just another example of the crisis we have right now in America. And it's not guns, it's mental health. Guns have and will always be here in the United States, yet shootings and suicide rates and depression and overdoses, you name it, are all up substantially in the last decade or so. It shouldn't be a surprise since these gun-grabbing politicians don't actually care about your safety or health, but rather would focus on taking your God-given, constitutionally protected rights away from you in order to obtain power. You notice how the governor's not claiming we need to ban knives, is she? At least not yet. But when forced to acknowledge our Second Amendment right to carry a firearm by the Supreme Court in the Bruen decision, she quickly signed law restricting a right to carry from sensitive locations, very similar to here in New Jersey, which, hint hint, almost includes everywhere. Now, why was this guy even allowed back on the streets? Well, we know they don't care about our safety, because elected officials who are concerned of the population's safety would not have allowed a man like this back on the streets. Let's use his prison sentence as an example. Number one, why was his 90-day sentence allowed to be served at the same time as his 364-day sentence? What the hell is the point? That's just another way to say, we'll let this one go by. Number two, why on earth was this man allowed to end his prison sentence after only serving 3/4 of it? He was a mentally ill and violent criminal that assaulted corrections officers halfway through his sentence. What did you let him out for? Good behavior? What a joke. Mayor Eric Adams stated that, quote, "We are still looking over his record, but there's a real question on why he was on the street." Well, no shit. Maybe look in the mirror. New York City has horrendous policies on bail reform and a consistent record of allowing criminals to run free, all while making the utmost examples of otherwise law-abiding citizens who are trying to do the right thing. Now, lastly, what would happen if you could actually defend yourself and potentially others in New York City? Because we know you actually cannot. The reason we know this is the example of Daniel Penny. If you don't know Daniel Penny's case and story, Mr. Penny is a Marine veteran who was charged with manslaughter and negligent homicide after putting a homeless man on a subway in a chokehold in 2023. The victim was Jordan Neely, a homeless man who had a record of mental health issues and was supposedly frightening many of the subway riders that day. Regardless of this, the Manhattan DA office is going for the jugular, no pun intended, with Daniel Penny, attempting to claim that he held onto the chokehold for a bit too long while trying to protect the rest of the subway riders. And that is when his actions turned criminal. Daniel Penny is currently in trial and looking at potentially up to 19 years of prison time if found guilty. So let me get this straight. You could be a violent criminal with repeat offenses as well as a very extensive mental health record, and you get to serve 9 months in prison time and get out early for good behavior, even though you assaulted a corrections officer. But if you're a Marine veteran who put his own life on the line to protect his fellow citizens from a potential threat, you are looking at up to 19 years in prison. Make that make sense to me, please. Maybe if law-abiding citizens weren't afraid of being made an example of, like Mr. Penny, someone could have stopped this. Imagine allowing citizens to actually exercise their Second Amendment constitutional right to keep and bear arms. This would have been stopped very, very quickly. All of these issues are clear indications of a cultural disarmament of the populace in the city of New York, as well as other states like it. They don't want you to defend yourself or others. They want you to rely on them for safety and be totally dependent on them. This is how they operate. They don't trust you, they despise you. But hey, let's keep giving up our freedom and power to the government and trust them to do the job. Clearly, they could do no wrong and have our health and safety always at the top of their mind. This is why now is such a critical time to be outspoken supporters of the Second Amendment, especially in blue states like this one, New York and New Jersey. It's not enough to just be a shooter anymore. You have to be an advocate, because we know what we are saying is based on truth, it's based on reason, and it's based on the US Constitution. We have all of that on our side. They have nothing on their side. And that is the only way to fight back against these tyrannical elected officials who are looking for power, money, and control above all else. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I wanted to get this video out quickly because I know it's a recent event in our area and it just happened. Let me know in the comment section what you think. What you think about what happened, what do you think is going to happen, and how we can better address and better advocate for what we're trying to fight for, our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms in New York and New Jersey, as well as other blue states like it. Also, another piece of news for you guys, I now have a t-shirt shop set up for you. Check the link in the description box down below. I think you're really going to love these designs. Let me know in the comment section what you think about those as well. And if you like this video, you will love my custom firearms related playlist. I'll put a link to that as well in the description box, as well as up in the corner right here. Definitely check that out when you can, and I will see you next time.